Hi, I'm David Gandy, and this is how I live with style. So this is the garage of the house I built over the last 2 years. I live here with my two daughters, 5 and 2, Matilda and Tabs, and my other half, Stephanie. I suppose this was the room with all my passions in. I'm a passionate car collector and restorer. I don't restore it myself. I wouldn't drive anything I restore. But I suppose the passions of the past as well. Everything from the powerboat racing records to the flying of Spitfires. This is what I always say, sort of fashion pays for the passion, and the passion has over the years been some quite exciting stuff. This is my first ever Mille, which we competed in with Yasmin Le Bon, which is a 1,000-mile race in Italy. I always wanted to build a car for that race, and this was the car we built. It's a 1954 XK120. Up there we have the engineers. They worked on the car 2,800 hours working on the car. Yeah, it's all kind of always to do with the racing that I love to do. That I used to do more until the two girls came along. But they love being in the car. They say to me every evening after dinner, they say, "Daddy, let's go in the broom broom," and we all jump in here together. And then they bring their friends in here as well. So it's just a very expensive playground at the moment, but I do get to go out in it now and again. This is Larry King. He's one of the best men's hairstylists in the world. Been doing my hair for 20 years. This was a moment in LA, and we used to have such amazing trips together. We've traveled the world together. It's still probably I've got some great photography in the house. That's probably my favorite photograph. I love design. I love textures. I love fabrics. Envisioning something in your head and seeing it come to life, and that's what I did with the house over 2 years. It takes quite a bit of vision to do that, but hopefully, as you'll see, it's probably even a little bit better than I thought. So the other part of my side of the house, should I say, is my home gym. Working out training has been part of my life for probably 25 years now, and I train 5 times a week. So I've always dreamt about having a house where I could have a small gym but substantial gym. I would say I'm training on my own, but again, my children seem to follow me in there. So again, no peace and quiet for Dad. The kitchen, the main part of the house, I suppose, where we spend all our time, really. I didn't quite know what I wanted, and this is where I called upon Bakehouse. I didn't want the typical island with the 4 chairs and the lights above it, so we came up with probably about 20 different designs, and then I realised that was the best way of it was going to work in this area. The panelling is a feature throughout the house, so when you walk into the kitchen, the cupboards, without any cupboard doors, blend into the rest of the house as a flowing design. And then you have all this the workspace and the cupboards on this side. I saw a fridge in my teenage years. When I was early teens, I didn't know what Sub-Zero was, but I knew I had to have one. Many years later, I finally got my Sub-Zero. We built a working pantry. So a lot of the mess, a lot of the washing and everything is put in here to trying to keep a tidier space. Worktops, we worked with a company called Neolith, and so far they've lived up to their name. They're a porcelain, but look like marble, feel like marble, but they're indestructible. The biggest surprise, and I'll show you, was that one of the trades pulled me aside one day, and they'd somehow found this. It's a time capsule from 1965. So we did a bit of research, and someone told me that Nigel Planer, who's an English actor who was in The Young Ones, lived here. So I contacted him and said, "I hope you don't think I'm a mad person, but we found a time capsule." And he said, "That is actually from me and my brothers, 3 brothers who lived here in the 1960s and 70s. And they actually came to visit the house. They said, "Can we visit?" So he visited with his brothers and told us the history of the house. One of his brothers married Jane Seymour. The reception of the wedding was at this house, so we started learning even more about the history of it. Yeah, that was lovely to find. We've bought another time capsule so that my girls can write a letter and we can then bury that in the garden, and you never know who's going to find that in, I don't know, 50, 60, you never know, 100 years time. We wanted a total living space for all of us to spend most of our time in here. Always have inspirations of books. I need inspiration from it. Sort of coming up with ideas and creative design. I hate TVs on walls. It's a pet hate. I have a TV on the wall, but it's one of the thinnest TVs, and then you can have any bit of art on there. So now and again, it looks like it can look like art if you put it on there. The flooring, I love a herringbone design. We've got the archways of the crittle. We brought in the crittle doors of the metal, and arches are a big feature within the house. So I wanted to keep as much of the historic element of the house available. So that is a bespoke design for the windows. So yes, this is the entertaining space, but let me show you one of my favorite rooms, which is the drawing room. So the drawing room, the room I come to every evening after dinner, especially in the winter, it's gorgeous with the open fire. The fireplace, that was from up in Yorkshire. He cast that especially for this room. It's probably my favourite room. And I suppose the standout feature here, the studio green. I always try and have a feature colour. At my old houses, it was railings by Farrow board. The studio green, want to bring the greenness from Richmond Park into the house and the greenness of the garden. And the studio green was the colour I decided having a lot of spaces. The controversial area of painting the ceiling same colour. Not many people do that, but I absolutely love that, and people tell me it really, really stands out, and it's a lovely feature, and I'm sure they would do the same. A lot of sort of bits I bought, again, throughout the year. We've got the chest, the old desk that we work from, the antique tea chest, which I've had for, I think this is the third or fourth house this has been in. And then this is an old carpenter's workbench. It's a big unit, but it's very unique, and I always knew I'd have a house eventually that I could put this in. You see, it's an old carpenter's bench because he used to put the screws on the outside to know which screw. Obviously a very organised carpenter. But I've always loved that piece. The downstairs bathroom was where I think we dared to be even more adventurous. And we have the House of Hackney 360, including the ceiling of the wallpaper. And it's a big forest scene. So again, we felt like we were bringing the elements of the outside to the interior. So it's a bit crazy. I absolutely love that room as well. That is the ground floor. So let me show you the first floor. So we come on to the first floor of the house. This was probably the biggest major development of the house. It's certainly what we had to get all the planning for, which we ended up going to, taking the council to committee and winning that. So from this onwards, none of this existed whatsoever, of 2 stories. So we recreated the window that was originally here, so it's meant to look like it sort of originally stayed here. This is one of my favourite artists. I got this a few years ago, David Gandy, and I ended up working with him. So we did a couple of projects together, and he didn't know actually we already had some of his pictures. He's one of my favourite photographers. It was a great feature. There's not many places you can actually have that picture and the space for it. But Africa and the African Plains, one of my favourite places to be. So that's I always knew that when we built this, that's where that picture had to go. We've got my not mine, but my father-in-law and Stephanie's family crest, which my father had made into stained glass for us. I've still got to put that up. I must admit I'm being a bit lazy. And then we're heading into our new master, which we built in the extension. We've created a bigger master in here. We took some space away from Tabitha's bathroom and recreated that with a dream shower. My other half is Greek, so she loves marble, she loves gold. And then we used the loft room upstairs to then make it into like a little secret dressing area, so a very private dressing area. With Matilda's room, I didn't want just a plain square room, so we probably cut off a quarter of the room, and we had Union Bespoke coming to make a very special children's seat in pink velvet. It's also going to contain like a dressing area, a table, I say for homework, it's more for makeup. And it's just adding to the quirkiness and the character of the house, really. And that's what we've tried to do, create interesting spaces. I suppose some people now sort of call it upcycling, but I've just sort of collected antiques that I've liked throughout the years. So as I said earlier, I don't particularly like TVs on walls. So I thought, what if I put it on an easel? The easel was originally from Longacre, but I got it in an antique shop in Wales and had it shipped over from Wales, or driven over, should I say. This is an antique bed I bought at an antiques fair. Absolutely love it. Okay, so let me take you up to what people call the turret. Everyone's intrigued by the turret. They call it the house with the turret. So we call it, should be called a cupola. And so let me show you what we've done on there. So this is the turret, or as people know it as the turret room, very unique, distinctive feature of the house. We use this as a working space. The main feature is the flooring, the hexagon feature, which is very intricate to do. So the beauty of this room is obviously the 360-degree aspect of it, not only from the view of Richmond Park, but you get the light, beautiful light all throughout the day. It makes it very, very unique. You can see this better if I show you outside the balcony, so come this way. Well guys, thank you for filling me in the tour around my house. It's been a pleasure having you. I am off for a dog walk in Richmond Park, which is right behind me. Don't forget to subscribe to the Sunday Times Style YouTube channel, and see you again.
Hello, my name is Beata Heuman, and this is how I live with style. I'm an interior designer and product designer based in London, but I grew up in the south of Sweden, in the countryside here on the farm. I now have a house here that I use with my family on holidays. The house itself is from the late 1700s. Some previous tenants wanted a more modern kitchen, so I think my dad agreed to putting some IKEA cabinets along the bottom and took out the original cupboards, which really bothered me. And we then sort of tried to reinstate the bottom bit to look more like the top bit, which is kind of funkis style, as it's called in Swedish, where you actually see a bit of a frame of the joinery around each door. My parents' house is right next door and my sister's house is opposite. So in a way, the house is quite exposed and people are coming in all the time. One really nice piece in this kitchen is this amazing coffee machine that's been imported from Italy that my father gave us as a Christmas present. But really, I think it's just because he wants to come in and have nice coffee with us, which he does a lot. I mean, in general, I don't like ripping things out. I like to keep what's here, and all the finishes were really lovely. The floors in the rest of the house were installed in the 60s, and I've actually decided to keep them. But just here in the kitchen, I wanted to brighten things up a little bit. And the reason why I went for this checkered pattern is because in the bathroom that's opposite, that you see through the door, we also have a checkered floor. So it kind of bookends the floor that we installed in the bathroom. When I grew up, there was a family living here that had a son who was my age in my class called James O'Connor. So I have all these memories sitting here in the kitchen with him eating. And the table itself is actually something I spent a lot of time tracking down. It's called Virvar, and it was designed by the Swedish design prince Sigvard Bernadotte. I really like this kind of pattern on top of it in particular in the room, and it's quite retro and sort of Scandinavian 1950s style. So let's go through to the dining room. So this is the dining room. In a way, I've been quite restrained throughout the house in terms of wall colors, and I think I felt the house could really take something with a lot of like depth and drama. I worked with a British company, Gandy, to create this wallpaper, which has been hand painted, completely bespoke for this room. I also love doing big breakfasts in here. I'm quite a big baker, so I do cinnamon buns and I do just little pancakes for the children. I asked my mother, who's very into gardening, to write me a long list of all her favourite flowers. And that's basically what's been depicted here. Flowering it all at once, which of course they don't do in reality, but it's this kind of scene of eternal summer in here, which is lovely. This is snowdrops that grow around here, and that actually also inspired the pendant that I have in this room, which is our snowdrop rise and fall. This here is a Caucasian wingnut, which actually my parents planted on the occasion of our wedding for us. We got married here on the farm. We had a big crayfish party up in one of the barns and like a big party afterwards. This was just a kind of boxed out step, which we thought had something to do with the cooker on the other side. And then we stripped the walls back. We actually found this opening and realized that there had been a fireplace behind here. We then added these tiles, which is actually something I had left over from a project, and they're all hand painted in England, depicting different animals, sea creatures and stuff like that. We kind of made it look like an old-fashioned Swedish kakelugn, and this was just kind of concrete painted white. And then my parents surprised me with having a specialist painter doing this little detail around the edge, which quite sweet. Let's go through to the living room. I designed the sofa for the space. I was watching The Crown and there's a really beautiful sofa fabric there, which I thought was from this company, Tan and Shigon. And I contacted them and it actually was. Above the doors, I put these two mirrors that sit opposite each other, which is also part of our collection. We developed this special mirror glass, it's sort of silvered hand-drawn glass, which basically means that the reflection is kind of a bit broken, which just gives this quite sort of poetic, dreamlike atmosphere to the room. I grew up here on the farm. In a way, it was like relatively isolating. I had 3 siblings, but I spent quite a lot of time on my own. So I had to kind of entertain myself. I did a lot of reading, a lot of drawing, and a lot of playing here, which I think really has formed the basis of my kind of my creativity. I was always thinking up stories and going into this sort of different worlds in my imagination. And I think that's really affected how I work now, actually. And it's been really special being able to bring my little girls here now and sort of showing that to them too, and seeing them, running around in the forests around the same trees so nice so well. It's really special. That's kind of one of the best things about being here, I think. In terms of colours for the house, for the woodwork, I've used sort of greeny grey colour throughout. But actually in this specific room only, I wanted this kind of quite bright red, rusty colour for the woodwork in here as a contrast. And you also have the more kind of buttery walls and a sky blue ceiling. We actually mix all the paints here on the farm. This is all linseed oil paint for the woodwork. And I didn't actually realise, but at the time when I decided on this colour, but it's pretty similar to what's used on all the woodwork on the external windows for the houses outside. It's kind of a quite neat connection. So now we're going into the bedroom. And the main thing here is probably this bed. I designed the fabric willow for this specific room. I kind of wanted to feel like sleeping in a big sugar bowl. Lately, the girls are playing a lot under the bed, so they have like a whole little den for themselves under there, and they spend a lot of time there. But what I really wanted to show you was the bathroom. What's quite sort of special about this space, and actually the whole house, is that you get this strong sight lines through the house. So, from the kitchen and the central hallway, you look straight up into this bathroom, and I often keep the door open because I like seeing sort of the windows on the other side. So I wanted this room to look quite decorated and as if, not necessarily very bathroom-like, which is why I decided to put this wallpaper up, which is one of our designs. It's called Florentine Flowers. I also really love this towel rail, which my father made with Bengt, who works here on the farm, just using copper pipes and these brass supports. My little addition are the brass lion paw feet at the bottom. This big picture above the door gives a similar effect as what we have in the living room with the mirrors, and it sort of draws the eye up. And the picture itself is from Naples, early 1800s, I think, and I got it from a sale of a house that I designed 20 years ago when I worked for Nicky Haslam's. This is the hall, that kind of connects all the rooms, and it's also where the staircase going upstairs goes from. The walls are completely covered in my husband's Uncle Matty's drawings. There were like loads of books like this that he did. He painted it like so beautifully and delicately. I really love that he could sort of be a part of this house. So thank you, Uncle Matty. This is just a big basket of walnuts. There's loads of them on the farm. I mean, there's like 5 more baskets just like this, and it's filled all the way down, and like there's more to come, so I'm not sure what we're going to do with them all, but yeah, we sort of eat them and cook with them and do different things. Also quite like it as a object in an interior. Anyway, let's go upstairs. This is my old doll's house, which I had when I was a little girl, which my father made for me. He even sent off the red paint on the windows so that these windows could be painted in the same color. And I just spent hours and hours playing with this and doing it up and rearranging and making things. I mean, this is a Swedish stove that it's not very well executed, but I made it out of a loo roll. Made little sort of napkin rings, taking like bits off biro pens and making it into a napkin ring. And yeah, these are even some like old like Swedish Christmas buns that I baked like 35 years ago or whatever. Still going strong. I'm very excited about doing it up. I think I need some wallpaper. I just installed this flooring here, looking a lot better. So yeah, I'm quite excited about this project. Mama! Ja, nej. This is Alma, who's 4.5, and then this is Gali, who's 6. Do you guys like coming here?
Yes.
I've made this little sofa for Gali and Alma for the room, and above it is a painting by my older sister Ebba, Bellestra di Mottola, which is called Sisters. And she hasn't said that it's of the two of us, but I kind of feel like it looks a little bit like me and her, or in my head it does anyway. So I thought it was kind of perfect to put in Gali and Alma's bedroom. The wallpaper in this room is also something I designed, and it's made by Degorni, and it's actually hand embroidered, so it kind of sticks out a little bit. It's almost like you can pick the flowers off the paper. I really thought about the scale of it. I wanted it to be a little bit bigger than what you might expect, almost as if it was sort of in a doll's house, and the scale is a bit off and not quite right, which I think kind of instills that sense of childlike wonder, which I'm always quite interested in. I guess for this room, I kind of thought about everything I wanted when I was a little girl. Also, we're heavily inspired by Mary Poppins and the Banks children's bedroom. That kind of, I don't know, sort of perfect idea of a child's bedroom, which is what I tried to recreate here. I hope you've enjoyed this tour, and don't forget to subscribe to the Sunday Times Style YouTube channel. Ida!
Hi, I'm JD Hazelwood. This is Roy Dandy, and this is how we live with style. I run the Instagram account The House Upstairs, which followed the renovation of our home here in Nottingham, which is actually a flat, so it's The House Upstairs. This is my little dog, Roy Dandy, who is quite the lockdown dog. He is 3.5. So originally this would have been a really large Victorian mansion, a really beautiful home, and in the 60s it was converted into 3 flats, quite frankly really badly. So they ripped out loads of original features, they covered up stained glass, they took out all the fireplaces. So we've really tried to put that personality and history back into the property. We're in the kitchen now, which is one of my favourite rooms. And we wanted a non-kitchen, so we didn't want it to feel very kitcheny and severe. We wanted it to feel really natural to the house. So we used tons of reclaimed items. This kitchen island was actually a gentleman's outfitter's storage in Cheltenham. It's so strong, it's oak, it's incredible quality, and I love the fact it looks old, it's stained, it's got loads of patina, and it has the most remarkably huge drawers, so good for kitchen storage. I never knew when we did a renovation that we would buy so much via Instagram. The Spanish tiles are actually floor tiles on the wall here. I found from a guy called Maitland and Pote who lifts them off floors in Spain and then resells them and actually saves them because I think they'd be destroyed otherwise. I'm going to put this little prince down now because he's had enough of me. I love overly specific kitchen utensils and I like actually having it all out. I like how it looks and it means you can see what you've got and grab it easily. I also like bringing kitchen utensils back from foreign countries, like this slightly weird vegetable art peeler which we actually use for roast potatoes. I bought that in Thailand. The other thing in this kitchen which is super practical is how we store the plates and glasses. I did have a vision of very swanky joinery for all our plates, but sadly our budget ran out at that point. So we use this commercial chrome racking for all of our bits and bobs for eating on and drinking out of. I have this huge collection of Austrian plates and crockery. The reason I have this collection of Austrian plates is that one of my really close friends is a butler and he was working on a huge estate in West Sussex and they were emptying out a cottage that was abandoned and this entire beautiful crockery set was being thrown out, so I acquired it and I now add to it by finding odd bits on eBay. I really love it. But that's enough for the kitchen. Let me take you through to the sitting room, but as we pass, let me show you my all-time favourite photo. This was taken in the 80s with my siblings and my mom. I remember the photographer coming and it was a photography study in Birmingham about women and their children. And it has a lot of my favourite things in a watercress salad, which we always had as kids. My mom's very good fruit cake. And I love this photo. So we're in my sitting room now. We're very lucky that it's quite a big space. I knew that I wanted to do a vibrant colour on the walls. I'm always conscious when I use a strong colour that it's counterbalanced with something a little bit calmer and chic. I think when you lay out a room, it's really nice to create little cosy spots. We were lucky that we could create 2 seating areas in this room. This one here is for chatting, having a drink, maybe playing a game, and then we can seat almost 8 around the TV area, so it's nice to create those 2 little spots in the room. I'm actually sitting in front of one of the new pieces from my Ottoman collection that I designed over the last year. We're really lucky in Nottingham that it's the home of British upholstery. They're much softer than a coffee table, you can pile them full of your favourite things. Because you only need 2 metres of fabric, you can have something really special. I really like having a bar out so that guests can help themselves to a drink. It's cosy, comfortable, relaxed. They don't feel awkward asking for ice or glasses. They can just help themselves. I'm actually obsessed with every chair having a table and a lamp next to it. I think there's nothing worse than sitting down with a drink and nowhere to put it and you're kind of awkwardly stuck with the drink in your hand. And also you always want to be able to see what you're reading, so I insist that there is a lamp and a table next to every chair. A couple of years ago we went on a very raucous trip to LA, myself and one of my best friends. It was a very memorable 5 days, but we went on a Sunday brunch bar crawl to all of the kind of famous hangout spots, and we went to the Chateau Marmont, the Beverly Hills Hotel, the Sunset Tower, and I decided to grab bar mats as we went and I framed them as a little kind of random memory of a brilliant, brilliant trip. One of the favourite things I actually own is this fossil I found when I was 8. We were walking in the Cotswolds and I threw this stone, it broke open and there was the most perfect tiny fossil. It's travelled with me to every house I've lived in since I was 8. It might even be the reason why I did an entire geography degree. So this is our hall, stroke dining room, stroke lobby, stroke where we keep our vintage bits when we bring them into the house and we've been at flea markets. This originally was 4 different rooms that we ripped out because we wanted to create a really large entertaining space. We acquired this table from friends of ours who used a reclaimed factory top from somewhere in Eastern Europe and then put it on legs for us. When we cleared out the hall, we firstly discovered that it was a huge space, but we also took out all of the 60s suspended ceilings and found some amazing stained glass, which was a very good day on the renovation. But I did know with this level of space that we needed some really big light fittings. I was scrolling Pinterest and saw these giant rattan lamps, which after a lot of internet stalking, I discovered were made in Malawi. Much to Ollie, my partner's bafflement, we got them shipped here in a container. When they arrived, the builders let us know because we were off site that they couldn't get them through the front door. So they had to take the front door off to get them in. And again, our electrician actually left the site and never came back on the day they were hung because he hated putting them up so much. We had to find a new electrician. But I think it was worth it. They look really good and they're very dramatic. We've got a really large print of a Slim Aaron's photo over the dining table. It's of some gorgeous girls on the beach in Saint-Tropez. When I worked as a yacht stewardess in my late 20s, I spent lots of time on this beach. Sadly, not sunbathing, but just dropping guests off in the searing heat. So that's a nice memory of a really fun time. If you've ever seen Below Deck, you'll know what it was like to be a chief stewardess. Sadly, I can't reveal most of my stories because I signed an NDA, but whatever you can imagine, times it by 10. When we started renovating the hall, there was maybe 7 layers of wallpaper and 10 layers of paint, so it took days and days to strip it. Eventually, under all the layers, found the original Victorian frieze that they must have put up when they built the house, as well as all the original plaster. It's such a beautiful colour. So we've actually kept this along the back wall. Just along here, we've got a teeny tiny downstairs loo where I did a big splurge on Pierre Frey wallpaper, but luckily a downstairs loo you need maybe 1 or 2 rolls, so that was perfect. So we're now heading into absolutely my favourite room, which is our bedroom and dressing room. Believe it or not, we found these rooms looking for a tiny hatch in the wall there. These were just bare rafters and no one had been in here since Victorian times. It was just literally the eaves of the house. So I wanted this room to be really pretty, really calming. We're up in the eaves of the house. It's actually quite quiet up here. It's a little bit like an English country house hotel, which I really like actually. It's a bit of a retreat up here. We found these really fab sketches in Bordeaux flea market. They were €2 each. I think they were from a house clearance, and it makes me so sad that someone's family member just abandoned these when the artist, whoever their family member was so talented. We went for this really narrow 90s style aluminium framing to take a bit of the drama out of them, and I think it works really well. I was conscious that this room was just a bit too pretty, so to kind of de-prettify it a little bit, we put in these brilliant posters of someone's 1940s vans for their job, which they were obviously very proud of. We got these in a Belgian flea market, and I think they just takes the prettiness down a little bit. Through here is our dressing room, but you can't quite see that yet because it's a complete tip and we haven't finished it yet. But in this little corner is my studio where I do my designs for the ottomans and work for interior design clients. So this room should have technically been our bedroom, but we were really lucky to discover our bedroom and dressing room through there in the eaves. So this became our snug stroke bedroom sitting room, which is very spoiling, and I feel very lucky that we've got it. It's a really multi-purpose space. So under this helmet there's a projector, so we can watch films and TV in here. We've got fire, which is lovely. Bath, which is very nice. But the best secret in here is that if you go through these doors, we have a sneaky little coffee station, so we don't have to argue about who goes down for the coffee in the morning. So we have a little fridge, we have a kettle, we have a coffee machine, and we'll just have coffee up here in bed before we finally make our way downstairs in the morning. It feels really spoiling. We've also got a little bit of wine in the fridge from the bath as well. We have 2 guest bedrooms in this house. The one downstairs on the first floor is the VIP room where we put like our grandparents or parents, which is really sweet. And we've got an entire wall of maps which are all memories of places that are special to both of us together and individually. And then on this floor we've got a second guest bedroom, which is a little bit of a compromise. We ended up making guest bedroom stroke laundry room. So I'd say it's probably a good room to sleep in if you've had a few drinks, so you don't hear all the noise. I found it really surprising how much stuff for the house we sourced on Instagram, but actually thinking about it, it's not that surprising because there's so many amazing creatives on there, and the way that they edit antiques and vintage pieces means that you just have this perfect platform of gorgeous things to source, like these beautiful French sconces that I got from Wallace Antiques. Thank you for visiting the house upstairs, and don't forget to subscribe to the Sunday Times Style YouTube channel.
Hi, I'm Kim Murray and welcome to Cromlix. So this is our reception, which was the original reception to the hotel, which we reinstated. Andy bought the hotel about 10 years ago. I think he was motivated by something that was in such close proximity to where he grew up, his family home, the connection with Dunblane, and also the family connection with the building. His grandparents had the first function here when the building turned from a family home into a hospitality venue, and that was, I think, their 30th wedding anniversary. We've had weddings, birthdays, celebrations here over the years. The first time I came here personally was for the wedding of Andy's brother, a couple of years before we bought it. And then we got married here in 2015. You kind of wake up here and it's tranquil, it's so rural, it's so peaceful, and yet you're on the Central Belt, you're 40 minutes from Glasgow and Edinburgh, so I think the location's really special because you feel like you're in this tranquil rural retreat, but at the same time you're really accessible. So we've owned Cromlix for 10 years now. I think it was at the point it needed a refurbishment anyway, and I think it just came, it was the perfect timing. I'd finished building our family home, I'd finished having babies, and I saw it as an opportunity to really, put our stamp on it, put my mark on it. It was a mouth-watering project, and I just felt like if we didn't do it now, someone else would do it, and I'd kick myself afterwards. So it was really serendipitous timing. So follow me through and I'll show you the rest. This is our drawing room, which has had a complete refurbishment and makeover. It's primarily used for afternoon teas and general lounging about in the afternoon in front of a fire, which is probably my favourite thing to do in here. I love the space. I'm so pleased with the scheme we've gone with in here. I find it restful and tranquil, but it's kind of a bit zesty and invigorating at the same time. I love the yellow ceiling, which was a bit of a rogue concept when I first saw it, but I think it's worked really well. We worked with Suzanne Garuda on the entire refurbishment. She's someone I've known for a few years. She did our family home for us. So I was thrilled with what she did there. I love working with her. I think we work really well together, and it gave me the confidence, I think, doing a project like that. Confidence in my ability to make decisions and kind of a vision as such. I think it's evolved since we did our project at home. These kind of teals, the light kind of duck egg blues and things, we've definitely got a lot of at home, but I definitely don't have blue walls and yellow ceiling at home. I think this was a kind of a bolder choice, and I'm really happy with how it's turned out. We retained a lot of existing furniture in here. We got new tables, but a lot of the sofas, that sofa's old, these two are new. We've got a lot of older chairs that we've recovered. I'm obsessed with the fabric on those there. I think it's the idea that drawing inspiration from nature and probably what is a more traditional design, a traditional kind of botanical print, but this metallic, almost metallic sheen that comes with the velvet, I think is kind of gives it a slightly more contemporary feel. These sconces we've retained, they were here, they've been with the house for a long time. There was a big question mark as to whether to retain them, but yeah, I think they work really well in here. I didn't want to come in and kind of get rid of all the history and everything that was here. I love the idea of retaining some of the old stuff, but injecting some new stuff amongst it to freshen it up. And yeah, you want to nod to the period features of the property. So Cromlix was a mansion house, Victorian mansion house that was built in the late 1800s. It was always family owned, which I think is really interesting, and I love that because it's family owned now. That's really important to us, and I've always wanted it to feel first and foremost like a home as opposed to a hotel. The house was built late 1800s. It was actually destroyed by fire. I think it was about 1876, and it was rebuilt. And the one part of the house that wasn't destroyed by fire, I'm going to show you now. So this is our gorgeous private chapel. Dates back to the late 1800s. It was always attached to the house as the family place of worship. As you can see, it's pretty much untouched. We haven't done anything to it, and yeah, that was important just to keep it as authentic as possible. It's got so many gorgeous original features, and it's just lovely to think that you can hold intimate weddings here. It's all self-contained. Andy's brother and Andy's dad both got married here, so those are really special memories for us. We've got an organ here as well, which is really cool. Doesn't work, but we'd love to get that restored one day. I love the idea of that kind of booming away in this tiny space. We've obviously had a number of really happy family memories here, and I love the idea that people can host such intimate weddings and have the entire house to themselves. And I want to show you one of my favourite bedrooms. This space used to be our reception. We've painted it red. It's a kind of foyer into the bar, into the restaurant. I absolutely love the colour in here. I love the idea of having a piano in here. Not that I can play it, but it's the most social of all the instruments. It's, yeah, whether we've got a jazz pianist in here on a Friday night before dinner, or after a wedding, or on New Year's Eve, someone's banging out Auld Lang Syne. We've got some amazing art, some of it local Scottish artists, and some of it was Andy's own collection that he bought for Cromlix. David Shrigley, Scottish artist that he absolutely adores, and I think it just works so well against the radicchio on the walls. I'm chuffed with the drama in here and the kind of sense of fun, but it provides an amazing backdrop for some really interesting pieces of art. We've got this incredible Damien Hirst on the stairs, which again just feels like it was made to be here. Through that door is our amazing new bar, and then into our restaurant, which I'm so proud of our restaurant. I'm so pleased with what we've done in there with the interiors. We've softened it, we've brought greenery inside, we've kind of made it more relaxed, much more inviting atmosphere. I'm really pleased with, and the bar is amazing. I was in there a few weeks ago with some friends, just in the booth, sampling all the cocktails. It was lovely. Went too late, ended up crashing out in bed. Speaking of which, I'll go and show you the bedrooms. So this is Hyssop, one of our lovely turret suites. It's got its own sitting room there, and then this amazing interior corridor, which I love. We went really dark on the wall colour, which is probably quite unusual, a space where you've got kind of one window, but I think I never wanted to be afraid of going darker on the colour. This bathroom there, and then through to this lovely bedroom, which has got the amazing aspect out over the grounds and the tennis court. This is one of my favourite bedrooms. I think it's got a real princessy feel to it. You feel like you're sitting atop a castle, and the view is amazing. You've just got this tree line and the mountains beyond. Every time people walk through the door of it, it's like, oh wow, is this all mine? One of my favourite things in this room is the two window seats that we've created. There was just a chest of drawers in this one, and we've obviously built it in, furnished it, and I just think it's a lovely place to sit and enjoy the surroundings. The light pours in, and you've got amazing views of the grounds and the woodland and the creatures. We've got deer here, we've got red squirrels and pheasants, and we've got a very noisy cockerel on the bottom. And from here you can also see the tennis court, obviously, which we put in when we bought the property. And yeah, I think people love the idea that there's a tennis court at Andy's hotel, and when the weather allows, I think it gets a lot of use, and it's a lovely facility to have. Can't say Andy himself has played on it too many times, but Judy's used it a lot. It was really important to me to design each room uniquely here. We were only 15 bedrooms, and yeah, it was a really exciting challenge to make sure every room had its own personality and really making the most of the kind of the different characteristics of each room. And so I want to show you one of my favourite bathrooms. This room's called Allium. We've got a tea station over there with shortbread that we have for every guest when they arrive. It's Andy's granny's secret recipe, his favourite thing in the whole world. But the star of the show in here is the bathroom. Which is enormous and completely over the top, but decadent in the best of ways. And the wallpaper I'm completely obsessed with. I'd like to say it's because the fritillaries and the poppies are found in the grounds of Cromlix, but I just loved it, so that's why we chose it. But it's the kind of overwhelming sense of colour and botanical freedom that I love in here. It was a huge room anyway. We haven't made any structural changes, so we just worked with what we had. But I think it's lovely when you're coming away somewhere, hopefully guests here on a holiday or some sort of retreat, so to think that you've got that indulgent sense of space, I think is lovely, and why not? The bath, we've got these amazing big freestanding tubs that this one we painted in this lovely kind of cherry crimson shade. I love the idea that you can be outside, you can go for big long walks in the bracing wind and rain, you can have a nice hot bubble bath and you can recline on your ottoman. Anyway, it's nearly time for me to go, but before I do, I want to show you Andy's favourite room. So this is our rather dramatic billiards room, which I absolutely love. I think we went bonkers in here with the scheme. It's got that clubby kind of vibe. It's the idea that you could come in here after dinner and just relax with a drink or play some snooker. We've retained some of the original features, the timber ceiling. We've got the deer on the walls here, which was a real dilemma. I didn't know if we wanted to keep them, but they are from the 1930s and it is kind of a traditional country house hotel. We chose this bright red for the fireplace and these wild shades for the billiards table, which I think are really fun. I wanted to put pick and mix in here because I just like the idea of that bit of naughtiness. We've had loads of really lovely times with family and friends here after dinner and kind of unwinding over a game. We inherited this billiards table when we bought the property 10 years ago. I think it was here long before then, but we recovered it in this electric blue, which I think is pretty fun and unexpected. It's Andy's probably favourite thing in the house. He's drawn to it because it's anything competitive. And yeah, I'd like to say that I can take him on, but I can't because I'm rubbish. But my kids have crawled all over this over the years. Thank you so much for coming to see Cromlix with me. It's a place that's so special to me and so close to my heart, and I've loved sharing it with you. So I hope to see you here soon. And don't forget to subscribe to the Sunday Times Style YouTube channel.